It is time. It's time to stop hiding. It's time to stand up. It's time for Christians to come together, to share their testimony and inspire hope, to join their brothers and sisters as we answer the call. Folks, it's time. It's time to wake up the lions. Thank you for joining us today on our solo episode Sunday, where we go through and we talk about certain things that are in the Bible and how they apply to modern day life. This one is inspired by a couple of people. The first one is the first one is a friend of mine named Cassian, and the second one is another friend of mine named Brandon, who I just had this discussion with yesterday. These are two people who interpret the Bible, um, who talk to, Cassian talks to scholars and interprets the Bible in a very literal way, investigates it, studies it. And my friend Brandon, who I just had on this podcast and is going to be coming out soon, also, um, he interprets it the way, I think that a lot of men interpret it out there and a lot of women as well. And I think that it's worth talking about today. So as we get into this, let me get a sip of my coffee real quick. Sorry. From our Wake Up the Lions mug. But oh, thank you very much. Okay. So as we roll here this morning, folks, um, I have had so many amazing interviews on this show. I've had people coming on here and talking about how God has impacted their lives. They've been sharing their testimonies. They've been talking about spiritual warfare that they have encountered that has been very, very real. And, what a lot of people don't understand is that spiritual warfare isn't just angels and demons and things like that. It's also what what evil convinces other human beings to do, to believe, to act out on. And so, for instance, when you're, putting a post up on social media about being grateful for your family and, thanking God for it, right? And you get a whole bunch of comments, hate-filled comments accusing you of being everything under the sun that's bad because you mentioned thanking God. That too is spiritual warfare. Okay, folks, those people who are so filled with hate and are so willing to share it against you simply because you mentioned God, those folks, they are being pushed that direction. They are being influenced that direction. Their hearts are being filled with hate. Okay, and even when those folks try to come back from it and try to let it all out and try to even change, the devil's right there. He's right there with a full cup and he's filling them right back up to the top. That is spiritual warfare as well. As we move through this, I want to make a couple of points. I have had several comments from several haters lately who have mentioned, wake up the lions. Why are you trying to turn this into some kind of battle? God said the meek shall inherit the earth. And it goes on from there. Now, what's funny is I've been getting those for weeks, ever since we started this project, actually, in small doses. But I've probably had that verse quoted anywhere from 15 to 20 times at least in trying to tell me to tone things down, to tone down the God thing, which we don't do here, and to say, hey, you're sending the wrong message. And then yesterday, I had this interview with this friend, and he brought it up out of nowhere. And it was something that was impacting him in his life, and it was a concern that he had about how the meek shall inherit the earth. And what he said to me was, look up the definition of meek. And, so we're using Google, which is certainly not one of God's tools by any stretch. And even in Google, it says this. In the Bible, meek or meekness refers to a quality of gentle strength, humility, and submission to God's will, rather than weakness or timidity. It's about having strength under control and responding to difficult situations with a mild and patient spirit. A strength that is under control, a gentleness and humility that comes from a deep trust in God. That isn't weak. That's not the reason to shut up. That isn't the reason to sit back and let someone else tell you how you should be able to worship in your faith. if anyone's actually listening to this program and what we actually are being proponents of, I'm in favor of everyone, no matter what religion you are, standing up and proclaiming your faith. Let that sink in for a second. If you, are Jewish or if you're a Muslim, you know what? Be a good one. Stand up and proclaim your faith and be proud of it. This country that we live in was founded on religious freedom, for crying out loud. And what's ridiculous, and one of the reasons for starting this podcast, is that all the other religions are doing just fine. The other religions are all proclaiming their faith loudly. Even the people who are against religion of any kind, that are against God in any way, they're proclaiming their faith or lack thereof. The only ones who are sitting here and shooting ourselves in the foot are the Christians because we don't want to offend anybody. Folks, let me read you the actual passage just in case, you haven't actually heard it in the Bible. Let me give it to you in context. And this is Matthew 5:5. All right. And seeing the multitudes, he went up into a mountain. And when he was set, his disciples came unto him. And he opened his mouth and taught them, saying, so these are his words. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. And I'll stop here with this one. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. None of these things that are being talked about right now are weaknesses. All of these things are ways to honor God, to humble yourself before God, to let God in. Folks, the meek shall inherit the earth simply means those who submit and believe, those who follow, those who do not go out and find false prophets, those who do not go out and say, I'm going to take care of this myself because there's no one else with me. It's the folks who say, God's with me. I'm going to lean on him. I'm going to trust in God. I'm going to let God and his will guide me. Those are the people that will inherit the earth. Now, that's a great idea. I think that's how it's been intended. I think that's how it will end up. But throughout all these other passages, we all have free will. We all have free will to follow or to not. We all have free will to humble ourselves or to not. And folks, when you look at all of the spiritual warfare that is out there against us, against all sorts of other folks, and it's not just against Christians, it's against anybody who has faith in any way, shape, or form. But in particular, it's against us because we are allowing it. There's a battle coming. And people don't quite understand that. I think it makes us uncomfortable to think that, there might actually be a battle company. We may actually have to choose sides. But there is. And what I have seen with my own eyes, heard with my own ears, felt with my own soul, I've witnessed it, is the young lions that are rallying to God's call. Everybody thinks Gen Z is a bunch of lazy people who don't want jobs and everything else. Let me tell you something about Gen Z. Gen Z is independent of all previous standards and thought and expectation. Let's be real about things. Gen Xers, we're old school. Gen Yers, the millennials, they came out basically trying to be the opposite of the Gen Xers. Totally understand. That's how society works. Everything works in a cycle. It's a big pendulum. Gen Z came out and said, we're not like either one of you. We are going to independently think. We're going to make our own decisions, and we're going to decide what's right. And they are. They've cast aside the old religious barriers and the old practicums, they've thrown them all out the window. And they've said, I'm not going to let this religion tell me that this religion's bad. I'm not going to let this Christian faith tell me that this Christian faith is wrong because of one line somewhere in somebody's doctrine. And what they have decided as a generation is that they are going to have an independent relationship with Jesus, period. And it means the world to them. I am watching these young lions rally. I am watching them build. And folks, when you talk about, God building an army, he is. And what's missing are the old lions, the folks who came before, the folks who gave Gen Z that doctrine to at least work from. The ones who said, look, I may not push a religion on my kids, but at least I'm going to let them know that God is there and that I believe in some capacity. Every one of us who said, I'm going to let my kids make their own decisions on this, but I'm going to make sure they understand how I feel, and I'm going to make sure they understand what is out there, what the choices are. We have to do more. We have to step up. And folks, we are the lions that have to wake up. We are the ones that must wake up. We cannot let the younger generation fight this battle for us. Folks, I was a sport parent. I grew up sitting in the stands and on the sidelines coaching and, helping, my sons and my daughter go out there and push, go out there and try and be the best they could be. And, it always killed me to be on the sideline because I always wanted to be more involved. I wanted to be an active coach. I mean, I wanted to run an event. I mean, do anything I could to help out. And that's why most of my clothes have sports insignias on them from when they were younger. So maybe it's just me, but I've never been okay with sitting on the sideline. I think a lot of us have gotten so comfortable sitting on the sideline and watching the world go by, these fights happen without us. We've gotten so passive in saying, well, okay, I know that's wrong, but it doesn't apply to me and my family, so just let it go, leave it alone, walk away. It's not worth it. My message to all of you, and you know who you are, is simply this. Enough. Enough. You've sat on the sideline long enough. It's enough. Get up, get back in the game, and lead. These young lions today, these men and women that are out there that are ready, willing, and able to give their lives to God and to fight this fight, they need leadership. And frankly, it's about time that we got back in the game and we decided that we were going to lead them. Folks, this is my call to all of you. Everyone who's listening to this, I'm asking you, what have you done to lead? What have you done to share your faith? What have you done to build discipleship? Ask yourself that question. And when we talk about building discipleship, no one's talking about, rallying 5,000 people and giving some, monstrous speech, like they do in the movies. Look, you share discipleship by talking to one person, by putting out one post on social media and saying, thank God for my, gratitude. You lead by example. In that way, you are, in fact, building discipleship. If you come in contact with, if you are viewed by, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people, and only one, because of that, stops what they're doing and goes, maybe this is worth looking into. What has my relationship been like with God? You've done your job. And let the compound effect take over from there. Folks who are listening to this, it is time. It's time for us to stand up. It's time for us to lead and stop being spectators. Because I have news for you. If we don't get in this fight, and if we don't start leading these young lions, they're going to be all dressed up with nowhere to go. And they're not going to understand the fight they're ready for. And in the end, without that guidance and without us leading by example, there's a very good chance that they will not win. And then you won't have a choice about whether or not you want to stand up for what you believe in and for how you feel about God, because that choice will have been taken from you. So sit back, put your feet up, have another sip of coffee, have another donut, and ignore everything I'm telling you. Or get up and join the fight and be part of the solution and lead by example. The choice is yours. It's written, and it's written right here. Read it for yourself. You can do it. I believe in you. You just have to decide. Because, folks, it is time. It's time to wake up the lions. And more than that, it's time for you to take your rightful place with your brothers and sisters and let them hear you roar. The world is ready. You're ready. Believe it.